No matter what we're going through, no matter what we lose, no matter what we're faced with, we can give God a massive gift simply because of our heart's posture. He said, from throughout the entire Bible, he talks about how he sees the heart. He's looking at the heart. He's moved by the heart. Okay. Put your hand up if you are impressed by big, exciting things that Christians are doing, by the things, when someone starts some huge, impactful organization, or they're a missionary doing incredible work, or they're, just, it's like the big stories that we hear about in our walk with God, but also our walk with other people. There are some extremely impressive stories, whether it's current or it's past stories that we read about. And I think because when we hear those stories, we're like, okay, that's impressive. What I'm doing is not impressive. God must also be impressed by that big story, and he's not impressed with my small story, which also means he doesn't care about my small story and the season that I'm in and where I'm at. And then there's like this caveat where it's like, well, I know he cared about that person, that impressive person, in their small seasons, right? Because sometimes those people on when we're hearing their stories, they'll talk about all their small seasons, but then you're like, well, yeah, of course God cared about that because he knew that big season was coming, and I don't know if there's ever going to be a big season for me. And so it's like this question of, does God see? Does he care? Like, what does he feel about me in my small seasons? And because we live in a culture in North America where it's so much about what you produce and what you do and what you can do for God and give to God. And on my channel, I care, and my main focus is to help Christians do what God has called them to do, to play their part, to be faithful with what he has given to each one of us, and with the things that we see and the things we're inspired to do. Like, we want to be faithful with that, but knowing at the same time that whatever you do for God has to come out of relationship with him. And if you don't have the relationship with him, what you do really doesn't matter. And so if it's going to be one or the other, it either has to be both, or if it's going to be one or the other, then it needs to be a relationship with him first. But I want to share with you, excuse me, I want to share with you just two things that have really struck me recently when it comes to just this question of, does God care about the season that I'm in? And usually when we're asking that question, it's because we're in a slow, a backwards, a frustrating season where it just feels like we're hidden and nothing's happening. And we don't know if anything is ever going to happen. So I was thinking, or it just, I'll use the example of my garden, right? Because it's spring and I'm like so ready. Okay, I had a little snack emergency there. I don't quite remember where I was, but before I move on, I just want to invite you to grab the On Purpose Planner. If there is something that you have been wanting to see or make happen, it could be absolutely anything, whether it's developing the habit that you want or working on that passion project that has been on your heart to do, for just to be faithful with what God has given you. Okay, so I just want to talk about gardening and how the way that I'm going to just talk from my perspective. So I love the plants, and I do hone my garden in on what are the plants that they do well. They're not fussy. They grow well in our climate. They're just like, they're the plants that do well, right? I love those ones that it's just like, they're going to give me more than enough and with minimal effort. And so I think that we tend to think that that's all that God cares about, right? It's like he just wants those like low effort, high producing kind of people. But for me as a gardener, I also really enjoy buying those unique or random plants that they are like, you need to baby them. They might need like 8 weeks of cold stratification, and then you've got to take them out and baby them into coming out of their shell. And they just need a total different kind of effort. And since I don't have a whole lot of skill in this area, they don't always come up. And yet I love to give time and attention to them. And I take time to figure that out. There isn't a person on the planet that can tell me that I'm not allowed to value both. It is my choice to say that I love working with the plants that I know are just going to do amazing and give us what we want. And I also love taking the time to learn how to work with the plants that are slow and that don't always work, and they need, like, we might not even end up seeing them, but I still love giving them that time and figuring it out and learning. And so with that, again, like, we tend to think that Jesus just cares about the high producers and that's all that he wants. And so when we hear those stories, we're like, well, I'm not a high producer. I don't like, sometimes I feel like I take more than I give. And so it can make us like, where we feel that, so then we put that on God and assume that he feels that. So then we take ourselves out of the story before we even bother to ask him what he feels. So I want to talk or share a story that you may have read before because it is in the Bible. So I think it's recorded in Luke as well as Mark. I'm going to read the one in Mark. So in Mark 12, verses 41 to 44, Jesus sits down. Okay, I'll just read it. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came in and put 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything she had to live on." So I just think the setup for this is so interesting. You have God in the flesh going into the temple and sitting down, or into the, not in the temple, but like into the place around the temple. But where the offerings are given. And so he's sitting there and watching the people bring in their offerings. Like, that's just such an interesting setup when you think of it. So he's sitting there watching them, and he's seeing all the people come in and kind of like the ones that are coming in and they're sort of patting themselves on the back and like, look at me and what I'm doing, and I've got so much to give. And those ones, had they turned around and watched and seen the widow come in and give the few pennies, I'm guessing that not everybody, but there would have been the ones that are like, why did you even bother to bring that? It's not even enough to make a difference. And so like you have God in the flesh, Jesus, sitting there watching this play out. It's so and just these things, and he's sitting just watching. Then this widow comes in and he tells his disciples, he gets their attention and draws their attention to this. It's not like he went and said something, as far as we know. He didn't go and say something to the widow, but he tells his disciples, this is what I see, because all the rich people gave out of everything they had, and their heart could totally be in it. And so it's not, there's a lot of nuance to all that, but she clearly, her heart was in God's house. She wanted to be part of that story, and she had very minimal, but she gave it anyway. And so it's like, I can't think of a clearer picture that we have where God is saying, you've got these 2 pictures here. This is the one that I value. This is what moves me. It's not having the ability to give tons and tons and tons of whatever it is that you want to give. It's, what is your heart posture? And so when we're looking at these seasons, I think sometimes, we can just feel so limited and like, I wanted to be able to give you this, and I'm nowhere near that. And, we want to give God more energy, more time, more love, more of something. And sometimes we just can't, even if we put our best foot forward and we do everything we can, which is what I help people do. So if you have something you want to do and you're not doing it, grab the On Purpose Planner, because there is this place where, in a way, in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, we're pretty much saying that it's like, we're going to do everything on our part to play our part in God's kingdom, in seeing, just in what, being responsible with what he has given us, and acting on the ideas he has given us, but knowing that even if we do our best and bring our best, we're still going to be thrown into seasons of lack and of little and of sometimes it could be lack on the inside of us where we just don't have it together the way that we want to have it together. And that it's those seasons that causes us to ask God, what do you see? What do you care about? Because again, with the picture of being a gardener, I'm like, I care about the plants that just do well with minimal effort. I also care about learning about the ones and putting the time and the energy into those other ones just because I care about it. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to see what the end result of what this is actually supposed to look like, but I care about it. And nobody can tell me that I'm not allowed to. Just like we can't go to God and say, well, you only care about the people who can give you a lot and you don't care about the people who can give you little. He's sitting here in again, I'm going to say the temple, not the temple, but like the temple area, but where the offering's given, and he's saying, this is what I see, this is what I care about. And so I think the struggle for us is taking him at his word and wrestling through what we feel like he should care about, and instead just saying, okay, you know what, this is what I think that you care about high producing people, and that's where you really want to put your attention. But I'm not that kind of person. I may never be, right? Even if we embrace those small seasons, sometimes we're like, okay, I know God's in he's with me in the small season because one day the breakthrough is going to come and something big is going to happen. But that's not necessarily true. You might never have a big season or a wow season or something where people can look at and be like, oh my goodness, like God has really used you and your life. We may never have that. That is totally up to God. We can do everything on our part to be responsible to play our part in his kingdom, and yet there may never be this big wow season. And I think it's going to be those people who even if you have the big season, it's the ones that go through those dips where you're really faced with, like, I mean, even the most that we have is not like, it's still piddly, and yet God says like he cares about it and he uses it, and it's piddly, but it's not piddly, but it's like it's the low seasons that really show us the Father's heart, that really shows us what Jesus thinks and what he feels and the way he responds. And I love the picture of whatever we do with a whole heart. We do it for him. We show up for him, even if what we have is next to nothing. And that's the difference, right? But I love the picture of him sitting there and not going out and telling the widow, wow, you did a really amazing thing. I see it. He just tells his disciples, like, I want you to notice what matters to me and what I see. When I'm looking at all these different people coming in, this is the one that has captured my attention and captures my eye. And it's just an incredibly beautiful picture. And I'll end with this reminder to all of us, especially myself, is that no matter what we're going through, no matter what we lose, no matter what we're faced with, we can give God a massive gift simply because of our heart's posture. He said, like, from throughout the entire Bible, he talks about how he sees the heart. He's looking at the heart. He's moved by the heart. That's what matters, right? So you could be a rich person, you bringing the stuff. You could be a middle class or a poor person bringing something. But if your heart's not in it, it's not about like how much you're able to give or how small. It's what is the heart posture behind it. And there is so much that happens in the slow seasons, the behind seasons, the seasons where it's just like things are flipped on its head. And it's not about us doing it perfectly, but it's just like the choice to show up for God, to say, I'm in, I need you, I want you, this is for you. And learning in that to let go of kind of this, like, okay, I'll engage with this slow season, knowing that you're like the breakthrough has to come, right? Otherwise the slow season doesn't make sense. And so I think like there's a lot of letting go that has to happen, because it's this like saying I'm in, but also your will be done. And giving it's like so tricky, because there is this holding on and this holy discontentment, but also this holy letting go and living with open hands. But not open hands in a way where we don't care about what happens. It's like, I care and I want to see this thing through. And I want to follow through and be responsible with what he's given me and like act on that. And yet I also have to trust him in that process. And I just find from what I've seen in my own life and other people's lives, when I'm sitting and watching, it's like, it's the backward seasons. It's the seasons where it just didn't go the way that you planned, and that they throw you into this place of questioning. But the beautiful thing about it is that it causes us to go from saying what it forces us to let go, or it can force us to let go of what we think God cares about and actually go to him and say, okay, what do you actually care about? And then we take that on and just take him at his word, and again and again and again until we believe it. So it's an incredible process. And I hope that whatever season you are in, especially the ones like the big, wow, amazing ones, those are so great and fun and good. But I hope that you let God do his work in you and let the Holy Spirit do his work in you, so that you could be grateful for those seasons that are totally flipped on their head, because there's so much treasure that happens within those that nobody else sees, right? That's the plant that is like, you know what, this might not even come out of the ground this year. I don't know, but the way that God just invests himself in the things that nobody sees. And like, we can't tell him not to value that. If he says he values that, then we just have to believe him and be okay being the hidden one and knowing that he cares and he sees. Okay, I am like going on repeat here. So I'm just going to cut myself off and say, lastly, it's like a PS and a PPS. Grab that On Purpose planner. If there is something on your heart that you want to be faithful and follow through on, grab the On Purpose planner so I can help you do that. And lastly, remember to read your Bible, get lost in the story of God, and play your part. And I will talk to you soon.